Hey everybody, welcome back to BobkeTV time once again for the Broom Wagon. A lot of good, but no bad, no ugly from the racing. Of course, there are the musings. For better or worse for some people, and tweet of the week, all that next on the Broom Wagon. All right, let's get into the racing. Max Walscheid from the Giant Alpecin team on fire in the Tour of Hainan. Five stage wins. He learned his lesson well on stage number one. Stage one, he started celebrating a little bit too early and was pipped at the line, but did not make the same mistake ever again during the Tour of Hainan and came out with 5 stage wins. Impressive riding. Walscheid was one of the 6 riders involved in that devastating crash way back in the early season in Alicante, Spain, I believe it was, where a car driving on the wrong side of the road, a British citizen, I believe, a little bit confused, driving right into the riders from the Giant squad as they came back from a training ride. Devastating crash. It took the team a long time to find their feet again, and Max Walscheid broke his leg and wrist in that crash, and it's taken him a while to get back on track, but he says he's put all that behind him, and he had a great end of the season. Watch for Max Walscheid to be very competitive in a lot of races, any of them that end in sprints in the years to come. So great ride, and it's great to see the Giant team back to their best after a very tough start to the year, and let's hope that does not happen again to not just Giant, but any of the pro bike teams out there. Open road, very, very dangerous, and let's everybody be careful and keep the helmets over the noggin. In the overall, there was one hilly stage in the Tour of Hainan, and Alexei Lutsenko took that stage and had a 17-second advantage at the end of that over Niemczyk from the Lamprey squad, and held that all the way to the end. So he gets his first stage win in a Horde category UCI race. If we cast our mind back to last March, on stage 5 of Paris-Nice, Lutsenko put in a brilliant performance to win that stage. So bookending the season nicely with an overall win in the Tour of Hainan from the Astana squad, Alexei Lutsenko. And pretty big future for that guy. If you can win stages in Paris-Nice, the start of the year, and still be competitive all the way through towards the end of October, watch for Alexei Lutsenko to have a good season next year. Also winning, still winning, Peter Sagan can't find the losing feeling anywhere. There's a series of races in Japan put on by the owners of the Tour de France, ASO, and a lot of the Tour stars come out and race at. Presumably they're paid a lot of appearance money, which is fitting for their stature as the best cyclists on earth. Peter Sagan first in the criterium, and Chris Froome, I believe, was third. And Peter Sagan forsaking his world champions jersey that he just won in Doha for the green jersey that he won in the Tour de France. And it's we get so used to Peter Sagan not being in his team kit. I've forgotten what team he raced for. But actually that was Tinkoff, which goes away. So one last win for the Tinkoff squad. Peter Sagan, just very tough to beat the guy. He's a great bike racer. He still has many, many years of being at the top, presumably. He'll change teams to next year. And the team he's joining was the Bora Argon 18 squad. And so they're going to have a new sponsor to go along with Bora. But watch for Peter Sagan to bring them to a whole nother level of notoriety and results in 2017. A great way for Peter Sagan, who's had an incredibly successful year, to finish off the season. And he puts it down as being lucky that he's had such a great season, just pure luck. I'm sure a lot of cyclists wish they were that lucky. I'm sure that what he's trying to point out is the difference between first and second oftentimes is almost unrecognizable. The difference is made in training, presumably, diet, rest, travel, race program, teammates. All of those things contribute. But the margin is so small that it could be just pure luck, which would put a lot of the prognosticators, although I'm a world-class procrastinator also, out of business. So hopefully it's not just luck. Peter Sagan's winning margin this year was down to things that we can talk about and discuss. No bad to report on, no ugly this week, which I'm very happy to say, but plenty of Musette musings, and they are up next. All right, we got some ex-pros in trouble with the law in the Musette musings. First up, Aitor Gonzalez, Spanish professional, most noted for winning the Vuelta a España in 2002. He also won the Tour of Switzerland in 2005, in 2006, implicated in the Operation Puerto anti-doping controversy, putting it mildly. Gonzalez, one of the names implicated in the investigation into the practices of Eufemiano Fuentes, and subsequently retired. Since then, he's had 4 arrests previously until this week. This week arrested for breaking into a cell phone store. Previously he had been arrested for defrauding a bank out of 1,500 euros. More on that later. Also drunk driving with cocaine in his system. Blew right through a red light. And maybe most troubling, hired 2 men apparently to assault a pair of real estate agents who he believed had used his money inappropriately. So Aitor Gonzalez facing another brush with the police, and don't believe he's done any jail time for the 4 previous run-ins with the law. But maybe this time he will, and apparently Aitor Gonzalez having a very tough time post-career, which is not uncommon for professional athletes. The landscape is littered with ex-pros in all sports that have a very tough time after their careers are over, maintaining the same level in their lives of excitement and thrills, and maybe going in. It could be a chance for better training of all professional athletes, and make them aware that afterwards you will not be accepting the accolades of the crowd as often. And a lot of ex-pros really flourish post-career, post-professional playing career, and a lot flounder. I think we probably hear more about the ones that are not doing well. But it can definitely, every sport could do a lot better for the ex-pros leaving the sport and how their lives are going to unfold for many, many years and decades, hopefully, post-playing careers. And Aitor Gonzalez, I hope he can get back on track, but it is not looking good for his future. In professional cycling, a lot of very sad tales of ex-pros, great at racing bikes, but having a tough time post-career getting on with their lives. For me, I always loved riding my bike, and regardless of what I'm facing in my life, a bike ride generally makes everything a whole lot better. So I would recommend all pros currently racing save a little bit of energy for the rest of your life to continue enjoying riding your bicycle. Also, facing a year in the slammer, Moreno Argentine, ex-superstar of the 80s and 90s. I spent, I think, my whole road career racing against Moreno Argentine. He apparently is involved in a scheme that defrauded a retired couple out of their investment in an apartment he was selling through a holding company. The holding company declared bankruptcy, and the apartment that Moreno Argentine sold to this retired couple was already owned, already had a mortgage for ownership from somebody else. So a year in jail to cool your jets, that will give you a lot of time to reflect on on everything in your life. And Moreno Argentine, it's very disturbing that a guy as successful in his professional career as Moreno Argentine was, I mean, world champion, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Giro stages, Tour de France stages. I mean, he won Flèche Wallonne, if I'm not mistaken. I think he won Liège-Bastogne-Liège 3 years in a row. Just a phenomenal career. And it's pretty disturbing to think that he could not translate his career into something lucrative enough that he doesn't have to steal from people. Also, a fine levied against him to the tune of 310,000 euros, so closing in on $500,000, depending on the exchange rate. And like I said, it's not easy to be a retired professional athlete. I've definitely had my ups and downs, but the aggregate for me has been pretty good. In fact, if I knew how much fun it was going to be in my post-racing career, I would have retired a lot sooner. But be that as it may, all sports can do a lot more for their athletes to train them, to make them aware of what their life is going to be like when the cheers die away and you just have your friends and family, and hopefully you can find gainful employment. But all of us can do a lot more to help the ex-pros out there. And so I try my best to live well and stay out of jail. That's my goal. Also, in the Musette Musings, Shane Sutton, back in the headlines this week. If you recall, last week and the week before, an independent commission has been reviewing the allegations of Jess Varnish against British Cycling and Shane Sutton of sexism. And I was very curious to find out what the findings of the independent review were going to be, and they have found that Jess Varnish has merit, the things that she said. They have found in favor of Jess Varnish's allegations against Shane Sutton and British Cycling, and that doesn't surprise me. Like I said, nothing to gain, really, for her to step forward, and a lot of courage required to go ahead and implicate the technical director, who's been incredibly successful in British Cycling and has delivered big results for the program. So the track racers from England, from Great Britain, have been absolutely phenomenally successful internationally for many years. Not easy for Jess Varnish to come forward and make the charges against Shane Sutton, but she did so with a lot of courage. And this is what Jess Varnish had to say when the independent review verified the things that she has maintained against Shane Sutton. She expressed her relief in the news that British Cycling upheld her claims that Shane Sutton used inappropriate and discriminatory language towards her. I spoke out. This is Jess Varnish. I spoke out because I wanted to shine a light on the culture at British Cycling, a culture that in my mind was incorrect. I'm relieved that the British Cycling Board have acknowledged that the language used towards me was inappropriate and discriminatory, and I would like to thank those involved and those that contributed to the investigation for their time and effort. I always believed in standing up for myself, especially when you know things are wrong. It wasn't easy for me to talk about this experience, and I could have quit easily and done nothing, but that isn't me. I've always given 100% to my sport, and am still in love with cycling. So I hope that British Cycling can use this investigation as a way to improve and create a better environment for the Great Britain team. And that going forward is the bottom line, that British Cycling will take this situation and improve on it in the future, and that sexism and discrimination will not be a part of the language used towards any racer in the program. This is Shane Sutton. This is his response, and this doesn't surprise me either. He continues to pursue a path of denial and deflection, and blaming the person that was the victim of his comments. So that is not uncommon. I want to quote Shane Sutton directly. I am massively disappointed. I put my trust in the investigation. I have gone back to them now and asked for the supporting evidence to try to understand how they have arrived at this conclusion. I'm pretty sure they looked at the evidence and arrived at the conclusion that they did, because that's what the evidence showed. But he also said, I'm totally adamant that no conversation took place of that nature. That's why I've asked for the supporting evidence. As far as I'm concerned, there were two people in this conversation. So where is the evidence that this conversation, these comments took place? There is no proof. We have already seen during this process that people have come out with falsehoods, certain allegations made, for instance, regarding data that was allegedly not released, meetings that didn't happen. One party in all of this has been proved to have told untruths, and that party wasn't me. So Shane Sutton, obviously referring to Jess Varnish, and I said last week that he's basically called her a liar, and the independent review has found that there is merit to what she said, that what she said was accurate, and now Shane Sutton, this is the rub. This is the proof in the pudding. This is how it's going to play out, and I hopefully this is what is going to be the definitive outcome of this. Shane Sutton has downplayed the possibility of a legal challenge to the verdict and acknowledged that there is now, quote, no way back, unquote, for him at British Cycling. So if that's the upstart, if that's the conclusion, the next technical director will hopefully take this to heart, and that environment will be snuffed out, and no athletes will have to face that racing for British Cycling or any other cycling federation in the world. So I believe Jess Varnish. I've said that from the beginning, and this is going on months now. And so I think that they have reached the right conclusion. So hats off to British Cycling for having the fortitude and courage to convene an independent review and believe in the allegations, not just of Jess Varnish, but a number of other athletes in the British Cycling program. Alrighty. On to the Giro d'Italia, which I am going to do a review of soon. Nairo Quintana hinting he might do the Giro and the Tour de France double. Chris Froome saying, no way, I'm doing the Giro basically. His focus is going to remain on the Tour de France, and as long as he's racing the way he has done in recent years, Chris Froome is going to be tough to beat. I put him as my favorite. Quintana, I would advise not doing the Giro before the Tour de France. And I would also advise doing some of the races like the Dauphiné or the Tour de Suisse that Quintana has not done in the last couple of years, in favor of staying in Colombia and training at altitude and doing a smaller stage race just before the Tour de France in southwestern France. So if I was advising Nairo Quintana, I would say do the Dauphiné, Romandie, or Romandie and the Tour de Suisse, and then I think that's the best path of winning the Tour de France, and that's how Chris Froome, that's what he's used to win the Tour de France in the 3 years that he's done so. The Giro is going to be a great race as always this year, a very tough course, and it begs the question, can anybody win the Giro Tour double in modern cycling? It's been done a number of times historically, and the greatest of the greats have been able to execute that. I think Bernard Hinault in '85 did that. I'm sure Eddy Merckx did it in his career. I think Miguel Indurain was able to do that, and I believe the last time was Marco Pantani in 1998. I'd have to put on my thinking cap, but I believe that's the last time there's been a Giro Tour double in the same season. So if Nairo wants to soft pedal his way through the Giro, it might be good preparation for the Tour de France, but generally when you're one of the very best bike racers on earth, it's not possible to soft pedal in a Grand Tour. You just can't do it. You can't even do it if you wanted to. You see the mountains, and if you're Nairo Quintana, when the road goes uphill, you go to the front. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's going to be a great Giro and a great Tour de France, and I hope that Froome and Quintana are at their best at this upcoming tour. And I don't believe that Nairo was at his very best. He had some health issues. He didn't mention those. Very tough to do that in the middle of a Grand Tour. It sounds like sour grapes, and it sort of takes away the luster of the person in the yellow jersey. And so Quintana did not do that in the Tour de France, but it's come out subsequently that he was not at his best. If in 2017 he is, Chris Froome is going to have a real battle on his hands. We saw the true Quintana in the Vuelta, and he got the better of Chris Froome, even though it was an incredibly tough race for both riders. It's going to be a great Tour de France in 2017, and an absolutely phenomenal Giro. All right, up next, the Tweet of the Week. Tweet of the Week coming to us from Ryan Mullen, Irish professional cyclist from the Cannondale squad, recently 5th in the World Time Trial Championships in Doha. So closing out the season rather well, 4th in the Chrono des Nations. So Ryan Mullen, an excellent time trialist. Here's his tweet. Seems to be queued up, as they say, in the queue, in line, at a fast food restaurant. I'm kind of fancying the Oreo, what is it? Oreo shake. That's got to be good. But simple tweet, goodbye veins. And that's referring to the vascularity that a lot of professional cyclists develop in the course of a racing season, especially at the end of a Grand Tour. You're just skin and bones and veins, and it's a sign of real fitness for a lot of pro cyclists is how vascular they are. And I can assure you, when I was done with the Grand Tours, I looked quite skeletal, and just had veins wrapping around my limbs. Didn't last long. It's tough to do those kind of miles in training and maintain that type of regime. But hopefully Ryan Mullen will have a good off-season in spite of some trips to the fast food restaurant, and will get his veins back in short order once the season starts again. Good luck to Ryan Mullen in the off-season, and be careful of the fast food restaurants. All right, that's it for the Broom Wagon this week, everybody. Thanks a lot for your subscriptions, your comments, your thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook. And until next time, be careful out there and wear your helmet.